It's a real pleasure to be with you this afternoon to talk about UTCs. UTCs are funded by the government, just like most schools, so they're free to attend. However, UTCs mainly specialise in STEM subjects and they start at Key Stage 4. At UTCs, young people learn many of the same subjects as other schools, such as maths, English and science, but on top, they study technical qualifications. We call UTCs School Plus. They offer the most important academic qualifications, GCSEs and A-levels, but also a range of very high quality technical subjects. The choice of technical subjects depends on the UTC specialisms. Most UTCs in the country tend to have 2 or 3. They include project-based learning, where employers really get involved and help set parts of the curriculum. The employers and universities are at the heart of every UTC. The employer and university involvement helps our students to make informed decisions about what they want to do next. The UTCs have really high quality industry standard equipment. This ensures the young people at the UTCs really do learn how to use the software and equipment which the employers themselves are using. UTCs have a really big focus on student destinations rather than just doing qualifications for their own sake. And we're very proud of where young people go to at 16 or at 18 as the leavers. The UTCs nurture both the professional and personal skills which every employer is looking for. This means our students are very often at the front of the queue for popular university courses or for very competitive apprenticeship places. The slide we're showing now actually shows some of the 400 plus employers that support UTCs across the country. And typically a UTC will have between 5 and 10 employer partners comprising large and small companies. And they provide the opportunities to develop and progress, which you would never normally have in a school setting. That now brings us to the Sheffield UTC Academy Trust, which includes one of the first UTCs to be set up in the country back in 2013. We are one of the foremost UTC trusts in the country. We have 3 UTCs, and UTC Derby Pride Park has just joined and was launched in December 2019. 2 of our UTCs are strongly graded good by Ofsted, and UTC Derby Pride Park is yet to have its first Ofsted inspection since joining us. We currently have 6 specialisms and nationally recognised very strong employer support. One of the key things we're most proud of is our outstanding destinations. We've had students go on to Oxford and Cambridge, as well as other very highly regarded universities in the country, as well as sought after higher and degree apprenticeships at some of the country's cutting edge companies. These including Rolls-Royce, the NHS, Toyota, Bombardier, Royal Navy, McLaren, BMW and British Aerospace, just to mention a few of many that we deal with. The great thing about the Trust is we have a size now that gives us the capacity to really drive for outstanding performance. We have over 100 staff working with us, and we also, that allows us to have very strong collaboration between our UTCs to help to share strength, guide development and expertise across the Trust to make sure all our UTCs are high performing. I'm now going to hand back over to Mr. Wheatcroft, the principal at UTC Derby Pride Park, to hear more about the offer to link to the Derbyshire Health and Life Science Academy that's an integral part of the UTC.
Thanks, Nick. As Nick said, UTCs are unique learning environments which blend both technical and academic learning, but really importantly, they blend it with real life embedded projects within the curriculum, and these projects are delivered via and through our university partner, which you'll hear from later, as well as our NHS partners. And at UTC Derby Pride Park, we've already successfully got an engineering stream, but we're now branching out to launch the Derbyshire Health Academy, which we're really excited about. This has been in the planning for quite a while now, pre-COVID. But because of the focus on the NHS and the health and social care elements, we're so excited that we can help fight the pandemic that is currently gripping not just our nation, but also the world. We're made up of 3 components, really. So at the moment, the health suite at UTC Derby Pride Park is a bit of a building site, which is just as well that the students aren't at school. So at the moment, we're actually making a mock ward, which will be on the ground floor of our building in Derby. So that's component number 1. And there you'll get taught excellent first-class education in both sciences and health and social care settings. In addition to that, we have our university partner, which is the University of Derby. Again, we'll hear from them in a little while, along with Joined Up Care Derbyshire. Joined Up Care Derbyshire have been working with us from the start, and they have multiple partners, including Derbyshire Community Health Services NHS Foundation Trust, Derbyshire Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust, the University Hospitals of Derby and Burton NHS Foundation Trust, and Chesterfield Royal Hospital NHS Foundation Trust, plus many, many other areas of the healthcare system. This will allow you, after you have partaken in courses with us, to enter a field where there are over 350 careers. These can range from doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, radiographers, healthcare professionals, social care. The list is endless, and that's in many sectors, not just the obvious ones such as hospitals. The university will be providing level 4 qualifications beyond the UTC, and it is envisaged that we'll have a pipeline not just of talent leading the UTC into the workplace by the NHS, but also onto higher qualifications at university. And we'll hear from a colleague in a little while about how we envisage that going ahead. It's important to say at this point that we are specialists in technical education, not vocational education. This is high quality technical education. And at the heart of that, we need basics of English and maths, and the university partners are going to explain that a little bit more. But it allows us to have transition pathways and routeways for all learners at all levels. And there'll be definitely a way through. So before we hear about the curriculum offer, let's hear from our partners who will be supporting the Academy and providing the projects and employer-based experiences that will make it so different. First, I'd like to introduce Faye, Leatt, who's the Apprenticeship and Vocational Development Manager at the University Hospitals of Derby and Burton NHS Foundation Trust.
I'm Faye, and I lead on apprenticeships and vocational development at the University Hospitals of Derby and Burton. And we're really passionate about working with the UTC to support the knowledge that you'll be gaining there with a lot of practice, insight visits and more. So I'd just like to share with you a short presentation, if that's okay. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes just talking to you a little bit about how we responded to COVID-19, because some of you may be interested, the career opportunities in the health service, apprenticeships, because that's an element of that, of how you could develop as well, and what we can do to support you, sharing some of our experience from some of our frontline staff, and also what we're looking for as an employer. So a little bit about COVID-19, you've heard it all in the press, you've been dealing with it across your own personal circumstances as well, and it's been tough, really tough out there. But here at the hospital, we work across 5 main sites, community services and acute trusts, so that's our really poorly patients at our main sites at Queen's Hospital Burton and also the Royal Derby Hospital. We've expanded our intensive care unit, so by 4 times the size. So by doing that, we've closed our operating theatres to ensure that we were there and prepared for any poorly people that needed to come through the door. And actually just to be there for their own health and well-being as well of our own colleagues. We've changed the way we assess patients, so if you're ever unfortunate enough to come in through our emergency department doors, you'll see that things have changed. So we have a red area and a green area to ensure that we're not exposing anyone unnecessarily. And we've been reacting to the constant change, as you can imagine. 5 sites, 13,000 staff, the pace of us working has been really tough, but we've all pulled together, and actually it's shown whether you're in a clinical role, non-clinical role, scientific role, finance, it doesn't matter, we've all pulled together. And actually what we've done, we set up what we call a runner role, which meant that non-clinical staff could support our clinical areas with those non-clinical jobs, so that our clinical staff are focused on our patients and at the pace that we require them to be at. So as you can imagine, and you've heard in the press, personal protective equipment has been a challenge. But again, we share our services, so across our community services and social care as well. So it's very important that we work across the sector. to make sure that we can deal with such a pandemic as we've dealt with COVID-19. And managing public expectations as well. So for you guys at home who's been having to not go to school or college, that's been really tough for you guys. So it's making sure that we're there to support you at every step of the way, and your parents and any other family members and friends. So, you know, we're here for you guys as a whole. And restoration, so now it's about switching everything back on, so it's all systems go. So an element where I say that we've shut down 52 theatres, there's still poorly people that need looking after. And if you were to come and work with us and support and go into the health and science sector, then you would be part of that. And it is, you know, it is exciting, it is really good, but it's also quite scary at the same time, but it evens itself out. So the value you get through the teamwork that we've worked together is phenomenal. So back to why we're here really, and obviously on the back of COVID-19 it's made this even more of a pertinent role. But as Richie was saying, there's over 350 career opportunities across the NHS and of course the social care sector. And we are probably one of the biggest organisations, well, we are in the county, but also in other counties across the country as well. So there's more careers and professions available, becoming available all the time through different routes, for whether you go to university or come through the apprenticeship route. So that can be through further education, through the baseline of the understanding that you learn at the UTC and then come to work for us as an employer. And we work really closely with the local universities such as Derby University as well to make that happen. So there's some great opportunities out there. I just wanted to share a little bit about apprenticeships. You may or may not be aware, they have been available for over 20 years. I actually started as an apprentice many moons ago. So obviously, it's something you can talk to me about outside of this session if you like. And you know, the NHS offer apprenticeships, like I say, across the board. So that doesn't necessarily mean doctors and nurses. As Richie was saying, we've got allied health professionals, so they're our occupational therapists, our physiotherapists, speech and language therapists. Some of you may have been party to some of that over the years. Is it something that you want to do for the future? Have you thought about it? Scientific roles, we've got working in the pathology labs, biomedical scientists. That's a real area that we're short of at the moment. If you've got a passion for science, it's a great way to look at and one of your end goals that you could think of. And we plan to recruit even more across all levels over these coming years. So yeah, please do look out for that on the back of your UTC experience. So what can we offer you, University Hospitals of Derby and Burton? Well, we can develop the health and life science knowledge that you'll be learning and be able to put those things into practice. We can share with you interactive talks and demonstrations, and I'm going to hand over now to my colleague who I just took a short video of them earlier, so do bear with me just a moment. So this is Scott. He's one of our apprentices. Can you hear?
My name's Scott and I'm an apprentice at the Royal Derby Hospital, working on Ward 312.
Thank you for coming to see us today, Scott. Can I ask you a few questions about the apprenticeship?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Maybe about the future.
Yeah.
Why did you apply for the apprenticeship?
I applied for the apprenticeship because I want a career in nursing, and the apprenticeship is a really good stepping stone into healthcare. And it's a good way of earning money at a young age as well as making yourself a pathway into this healthcare career and just the whole region of healthcare. So it's a good stepping stone, I think, and it's a good insight on how healthcare works.
What sort of experiences would you say that you've had so far?
Well, I've done a lot of personal care, and I think that's the best thing about the job really. It's an honour to be able to give somebody that fresh feeling of a wash or changing the pad or changing the clothes.
So why choose healthcare?
It's a good job to be in if you're a caring person, such as myself and the people I work with. it's just a nice feeling. It's a nice accomplishment to have, and it's a good confidence booster for yourself, but you're helping other people. And I think it's nice when you're cared for. And healthcare is such a rewarding sector and such a rewarding job. And I think as well, people deserve to be cared for. As much as you get rude patients and impatient people, and they still need caring for, they still need cleaning and feeding, and so it's such a nice role to have. That's why I chose healthcare.
Thank you. So you sound really passionate about the job. How have you found the studying and the working?
I find the studying really good actually. I enjoy the academic side of the apprenticeship as much as I do the in-work role, just because it's a way for me to sort of go, I do my job right that way. I know I'm doing things right because I know that I explain it right in my academic part of the apprenticeship, because I know I can put it into words how I do my job, and I really enjoy that. So yeah, it's really good.
So where next for you?
I'm looking at doing a nursing degree once I finish my apprenticeship, but I think for a couple of years I'm going to stay as the healthcare assistant and maybe do some bank training where I can do it somewhere, like work somewhere else and see what's to offer in the hospital. And once I'm comfortable with that, I can go on to do my university nursing degree.
So that was Scott, and you know, he was really passionate about it. He wasn't sure what he wanted to do when he left school, and he came in and through that. But so many people come into that position, and actually working at the UTC, starting at the UTC, will really allow you to gain that knowledge and skills that you require for you to be able to then come and join us at a later date, should you wish to, or go on to university and become whoever that is that you want to become. So there's some great opportunities there. I've also got a colleague of mine, Hayley, who would like to share her story and her expectations. Hopefully you can see that now.
Hi, I'm Hayley. I'm a medical laboratory supervisor and I work in biomedical science.
What is biomedical science?
It's a discipline which identifies, research and monitors the treatment of disease. We focus on the complex of the human body. 70% of all our diagnoses are attributed to the work of biomedical science and blood tests. Not only does it include blood tests, it also includes all sorts of bodily fluids, but we perform over 150 million tests a year, and 300,000 of those are performed daily. So what is pathology? It's a study of disease, and we, in this department, it is open 24/7 records. The advantages of being an MLA is that we help patients. We do have a job satisfaction knowing that we help patients. We get flexibility as it is a 24/7 role, so you can have hours to suit. And we do go with a career progression.
What would you be looking for in an applicant?
The skills and the personal qualities required. You need to be responsible, mature, good at practical tasks, so you have to be quite dexterous, accurate and good attention to detail. You have to concentrate for long periods of time, as it may be repetitive, and you need to be able to work under pressure and prioritise deadlines. You need to be a good team worker and, of course, not be squeamish.
Thank you. So that was Hayley as well. And of course, as I said, we'll have insight visits and work experience, and you've just heard from a few. We will be able to share with you some further information, but as you can see, I have got some clips of colleagues that have come through different routes, from engineering manufacturer to healthcare science degree. So happy to share them after the open evening and obviously answer any questions. So as an employer, you've heard from colleagues as well. You will gain such knowledge at the University Technical College at Derby. But then question really is, could you share and demonstrate the values that we've just talked through? Work together with our patients and colleagues. Show them respect and dignity, and also your colleagues as well. So not just our patients, this is about a team effort, and actually it's not just one person that would be looking after the patient. We work collaboratively throughout whatever we do. It's just basically demonstrating the compassion and the 6 C's that I had on my first screen, about having that commitment, having the communication skills that you need, competence, so you will learn that competence at the UTC, but also with us as an employer. Also the courage, so having, being able to stand up and understand what you've learned, as Scott was sharing about what you've learned in practice and also in theory. So it's, a multitude of things that you could grow into if you don't feel like you have all of those skills at the moment. Being whether you're 14 or 18 years old, they will, some things we will teach you, some things you will have those values yourself. But ultimately, it's about improving lives. So whether you're out there in the community supporting our elderly people, or in an acute trust working with our children who are put very poorly, or anyone really, trying to get them back into their normal health. If you've got that passion, if you've got that care in nature, then this is definitely something for you to think about. And any question, I know we're talking about questions later on, so I'm happy just to pass it on over now. Thank you.
Great, thanks ever so much, Faye, much appreciated. So we're going to move now to hear from Denise Baker, and Denise Baker is head of the School of Allied Health and Social Care at University of Derby. So welcome, Denise, and over to you.
Thanks very much, Liz, and I'm going to try and attempt to share my screen as well, which is always interesting, isn't it, as we found from Faye. So I'm just going to go back up to the start of my presentation here. So as Liz has already said, I'm head of school for Allied Health and Social Care at the University of Derby. So you're probably not thinking immediately about coming to the university, but I think it's an important part of understanding where you might be going to next. And I don't suppose it will be a surprise to hear that we already work really, really closely with the university hospitals, Derby and Burton, the NHS Trust, and I've worked quite closely with Faye as well to support our apprentices. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of information about the university, and there's lots of facts and figures up on the screen here. But what I did want to say, that we know that our students come to us actually from our locality. So the average commute of our students is only about 8 miles, which means that we know that our students live locally and often choose to come to Derby because they live locally. And we also have a site up in Chesterfield, which means that we can deliver some of our training up from the Chesterfield campus as well. We've worked really hard with our partner colleges, and we're really looking forward to working with the UTC as well to make sure that there are options for the young people that live in and around Derby, and to be able to give people the opportunity to learn more about health and social care. And so the conversations that we've been having already are how we can give you that opportunity. We already do some work with our local schools to reach out and to get people to come into the university, and absolutely appreciate that for many of our students, you might be the first person in your family that's ever gone to university. I was the first person in my family that had ever gone to university, but I didn't do it in the traditional way. I didn't start at 18, I started in a slightly different way, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. But for a number of our students, they're the first in family to come to university, and they've never had that experience before. A lot of them aren't actually 18 when they come. A lot of them are a little bit older. And so that they've also got additional responsibilities, perhaps at home, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But certainly they might not be feeling quite as confident as some of those young people coming out and off to university at 18. So we're very used to working with people who maybe didn't think that they would ever go to university, but also we want to make sure that we help to provide the best qualified health and social care workforce in Derby and Derbyshire and across the East Midlands, because it's something, as you've already heard from Faye, that unfortunately at some point in our lives we're very likely to need to be able to access. So it's in our best interest to make sure that everybody is well qualified. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about why people choose a career in health and social care. Certainly when I was a young person at school, which again is quite a long time ago, I just wanted to know how the human body worked. And there weren't all these opportunities that I think you've been exposed to nowadays. It was a bit of an accident really that you found out anything with our careers structure. But I knew that I wanted to find out how the human body worked. And I was quite good with people. And I wanted to be able to make a difference. And as I got older, I just knew that I wanted to work in a hospital. I just knew it was going to be right for me. And sometimes that gut instinct will carry you a long way. And that's what we see a lot of. People don't always know people that have been working in health and social care, but they just know that they want to work in a hospital or that they want to make a difference. And that's great. That's a really good basis for us to build on. I think one of the things that it's great with the UTC is to have that opportunity to explore other places of employment. So we've heard from Faye about people working in hospitals, but as Richie said, there are lots of opportunities that don't happen in hospitals as well. And I think if you've been paying attention to what's been going on with COVID, you'll have heard a lot about people going into care homes, and you'll also be hearing more and more about how we look after people that have survived COVID and how are we going to make them get back to full strength. And that's a job for our health and social care workforce that don't necessarily work in hospitals. So if you're thinking about a career in health and social care, it is changing all of the time. So my background is diagnostic radiography, which means that I was trained to take x-rays. I chose that because I was interested in science and I wanted to work in a hospital, and I fell into it by accident completely, but it was a great career for me and I absolutely found out how the human body worked, and I was often the first to know what was wrong with people, which is a real privilege. But the science and the technology around that has been absolutely enormous, how that's changed. So you will be working as part of a team, but obviously you need to work independently as well. You have to be able to talk to people. And so if you're thinking about doing part-time work, working in a shop, if you can get those opportunities, or volunteering, and again, that work experience that you'll get coming through the UTC is going to be absolutely essential. And you will get the opportunity to work in varied settings. I wasn't expecting to work in a university when I qualified, but here I am. And a lot of the time you're going to be using science every day. And whether that is science, like we've heard from the lady in Faye's video about working in a laboratory, or whether that's the science of understanding people, that's just as important to be able to make sure that you're delivering the best care to people. So at the university, we've got a whole range of courses, and there are lots and lots of opportunities going forwards. There are absolutely apprenticeship opportunities, and interestingly, a number of the apprentices in Faye's organisation will come to our university to be taught, but there aren't always the apprenticeship opportunities out there. So what I want to do is really say, keep your options open. If you can get an apprenticeship, that's fantastic, and that might be the right route for you. But we really want to welcome successful students coming out from the UTC onto our courses. So in nursing, there are lots of different types of nursing. So we offer adult nursing, children's nursing. We offer mental health nursing and learning disability nursing. And we're going to be offering midwifery in the not too distant future as well. And there's also another role called the nursing associate, which is there to support the registered nurse, but is a registerable profession in its own right. But again, this is a great route for people who think they want to come through into nursing and to get that opportunity. And that can be done as an apprenticeship, working in the hospital or in another organisation, or you can come and take out a student loan and have a placement opportunity, as you would do with our registered nurse. But as you might expect, I'm head of allied health and social care, so I wanted to make sure that you're aware of the different allied health professions. And I think using your time at the UTC to find out about all the different options that are available to you, some of them more scientific, perhaps some of them more administrative, some of them frontline, as these allied health professions are, is really important. And to find out which professions match your skills. So I've said I was really interested in science and I was interested in physics, and so diagnostic imaging was the right option for me. But you could be interested in dance or drama and art and come through as an art therapist. So there are lots of different options available, and we're adding to our programs all of the time at the university. We also offer social work, and we have qualifications in more generic areas, so more general degrees in social care. For example, our health and social care degree or our child family health and wellbeing degree. And these are good options if you want to come to university, but you're not 110% sure which profession you want to go in, even at that point. It's a good way of being able to get that experience. And we're not just there for when you leave college or school and come to us. We're there for after you've qualified as well. And that's another thing that's really important. You never stop learning when you work in health and social care, because there's always some new training to be done. So a couple of people have mentioned this already. So at our university, we have a number of people that come to us with what we would say are non-traditional qualifications. So that they may have not always done brilliantly at school, or they might have been out of education for a long time, but the things that are really, really important are your maths and English. If you can get your maths and English, it's so helpful, because it means that you won't need to come back to it again and again. You're going to use maths and English all the way through, but a lot of courses, whichever university it is, and a lot of our professions are going to ask you to develop your maths and English skills. We have a range of UCAS tariff points. So once you've got your qualifications at 18, these have a point system attached to them. And the better the qualification in terms of how much you've achieved, the more tariff points that you've got. And we have a range of programs that start from 64 and work all the way up to 100 or 128. And this is a general indication of how challenging you might find that program academically when you come into it, or the specialist skills that you'll need to have. We really want people to have had some experience in health or social care. So coming through the UTC is a great way to be able to do that. And you will be able to demonstrate to us in quite a unique way what your experience is. And that should give you a great advantage over some people that have been through that usual school route. Many of our programs you'll need to come for an interview, because we want to make sure that the right people are coming through into the workforce. And we work with our employer partners to make sure that we've got the best of both worlds. We have them on the interview panels as well. As I've already mentioned, we work in Derby and in Chesterfield, and we do start in different times of the year as well. So sometimes we start in September, sometimes we start in March. I wanted very briefly to mention our With Foundation year. So for some students who miss out on the qualifications they need for the university program that they've chosen, we do have the opportunity for them to fall back into our With Foundation year, and that includes with their English and maths, that they get an opportunity to just build up a bit more slowly and then come into the first year of their professional program. So it's like a 4-year degree. That's not open to everybody to apply for, but it does give you the opportunity to fall back and to have another go at making sure that you've got all those qualifications and that experience under your belt. The funding is really important, and I know that many people will say that they're very attracted to the apprenticeship opportunities because you can earn while you're learning, and that's absolutely right. But for some people, if that apprenticeship opportunity isn't right for them, or you want to come to university straight away and get your qualification, we've got some new funding coming in from September this year. So you will be able to take out a student loan to cover the tuition fees and apply for a maintenance loan, which is the same as now. But from September, there will be this additional grant of £5,000 per year that you're in training, which doesn't need to be paid back. And that is it's recognised from the government how important our learners are and how important it is that we have a health and social care workforce going forwards. And in some of our programmes, you'll get additional funding for that as well, because they're the more difficult programmes to recruit to. So there's lots of opportunities, meaning that there is money available to you. And if you check the university's website, actually, even when you qualify and come out as a newly qualified nurse or radiographer or allied health professional, actually you'll be paying back about £10 per month on your starting salary, which, as it says in our little video, is the price of 2 cups of coffee these days if the coffee shops are open. So we have a number of places that our students go to once they've qualified, and I won't go through all of these, but really to say a career in health and social care will open so many doors for you. And absolutely many of our students will work in hospitals, but we have lots of different areas that our students will work in once they've qualified. And the good news is that our employment rate is 100% at the moment. In fact, many of our students will have a difficult choice of 2 or 3 jobs, and we're working really closely with our employer partners to make sure that you have a seamless transition from the university back into the workplace, and that's really supported. Our staff that we work with are people that have worked in the field largely. So here's David. David is a nurse. He worked in Nottingham, and then he was training doctors at Nottingham University Hospital, and now he comes to help train our nurses. So a lot of us maintain our professional registration, which means that we can go back in and work on the front line, which many of our staff have done over the last few months. And we're also developing our own skills and research, and we know that we're doing it quite well, really. And we work very closely in partnership with our local employers, and you've heard a number of those mentioned there, and absolutely want to make sure that you have a really good educational journey all the way through from when you join the UTC, getting that learning and working experience, keeping in touch if you think that you might want to come to university in the future, but actually you want to have some more work experience with one of the local employers first and then come back to us. But it's that joined up approach which I think is the really exciting opportunity of working with the UTC. And I've given you just a little taste. Obviously, there's lots of other opportunities that we've got within the university. I mean, 350 careers, we represent just a small number of that. And so that's lots of opportunities across the university and across the employers as well. So I'm going to stop sharing now and pass back over to the team and look forward to receiving your questions shortly.
Great, thanks ever so much, Denise. That was great, a really good insight. We've had 2 really good insights there from Faye and also Denise. So now I'm going to hand over to Dr. Claire Pegg and Caroline Holdsworth from UTC Derby, who are going to talk about the offer, the actual offer of the Health and Life Sciences Academy.
Okay, so having been inspired by hopefully listening to our partners earlier on, the question is, where do you start? And this is what we want to talk to you about this afternoon. So if you apply to the UTC in year 9 or year 10 and select the health specialism, you'll study level 2 health and social care alongside what are considered more traditional GCSEs in biology, chemistry, physics, and of course the essential English maths. This then will lead you directly on into our post-16 offer, which is made up of a suite of qualifications, including a level 3 qualification in applied science, the level 3 health and social care, and A levels in biology, chemistry or physics. Now, for those students who are perhaps looking to apply in year 12 this year, if you've just missed out on your GCSE grades when you get them in August, we are offering a technical foundation year, a little bit similar to what Denise was talking about with the university degree, that will give you a step up, a level 2 qualification in applied science that will allow you to step up into our level 3 qualifications after that. And within that is also an offer of English and Maths GCSE resits. So your health specialism will allow you to explore a range of units to develop your skills in understanding how the human body works, the effects of disease, communication skills, which, as we've heard, are essential in health and social care settings. You'll learn about equality, diversity, respect, dignity and empathy, both for your patients and indeed your colleagues. You'll look at first aid, triage, treatment, infections, and of course minimising the spread of disease, which is in the front of everybody's mind at the moment. You'll also develop your professional skills as a health professional. So you look at everything from triaging a patient when they enter care, through treatment plans, through discharge, and into community-based care. Throughout the course, there'll be opportunities for practical hands-on work, as well as visits to places of interest. You'll look at medical museums and experiences to support and enhance your understanding of the learning. So in terms of the facilities that we offer, Mr. Wheatcroft mentioned at the start of this about the fact that we have a brand new purpose-built facility at the UTC. This will give us a dedicated teaching space which is designed to replicate what you will work in a health or social care working environment. So not only will you be able to practice with the equipment and get used to working in that environment, but it will actually be realistic what you will experience in later career. So again, you'll develop your skills so you can become an excellent health and social care professional. And within our healthcare suite, you'll find hospital beds and associated furniture, mannequins, CPR dummies, first aid equipment, and much, much more, allowing us to actually bring your learning to life. So the types of projects that you'll be undertaking, again, they'll be with our local employers and the partners that you've already heard from. You'll be involved in projects such as developing theme park rides based on the human body systems, which enables you to take your knowledge out of the classroom and actually do something more creative with it to help you with your understanding. You'll be able to work on projects designed to help you understand patient care pathways from admission all the way through to discharge, exploring how multidisciplinary approaches enable the best possible outcomes for patients. As well as these, you'll have the opportunity to take part in virtual and real work experience, as has been mentioned earlier by our partners. You'll be looking at role playing and actually taking on the roles as both carers and indeed patients. You might do some counselling work along those lines as well. And as well as these, you'll have the opportunity to take part to look at the lesser well-known roles within the health sector, so that actually you might think that at the moment you want to be a doctor and that's where you're aiming for, but by the time you spend time with us looking at the huge range of possibilities, you might end up finding something that at the moment you don't even know exists. All of these opportunities will help to embed your theoretical learning from the classroom and making it all come to life for you. So those are the employers that we'll be working with. As you've heard from them earlier on, the opportunities for you are vast, and the UTC is giving you just that first stepping stone onto those routes. There we go.
Great. Thank you very much, Claire. That was very helpful. So at this point, I'm going to invite everybody from our panel to put their videos back on and to join me for our Q&A session. So this is where all our patient attendees, all of those who've been viewing our event today, have an opportunity to actually contribute and to ask us some questions. If you'd like to ask us some questions, please. So one of the questions that's come through already is why will studying at the academy be different from, say, doing health and social care a course at school, or or perhaps doing it at the college? Why is the new academy a really good choice for doing health studies? I'm going to ask that to both Mr. Wheatcroft, the principal, and also Dr. Pegg, who's going to be responsible for the course as well.
Thanks, Liz. I think one of the main differences from us is, well, it's threefold. We've got the facilities, which are being developed, as Claire's just spoken about at the end of her presentation. We've got the university link, and then we've got the employer link. But it's because we're actually, as a UTC, we're skilled in embedding those technical projects into the learning. So it's not a bolt-on, which is what traditional schools tend to do. It's deeply embedded in our learning, and it's because it's integrated so well with the NHS and with the University of Derby, we can already see pipelines of getting our youngsters through into apprenticeships and into higher education in the health and social care services, so that they've got a career and further education at the end of it. So I think that for me is the core reason which makes us so different.
Claire, Dr. Pegg, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think from what we've heard from the partners earlier on in the presentation, the importance of skills and the importance of work experience have come through. We can give the students those as part of their learning. We're not looking at sending them out for maybe 4 or 5 days, as perhaps they might experience in a more traditional setup. The whole idea of the work experience is that it comes into the classroom every single day. So again, as Mr. Wheatcroft was saying, it's not a bolt-on, it's actually part of the way the students learn. So it's not learning something and then applying it, it's actually doing it for real, making the whole thing relevant and realistic from the start.
And I suppose that one question that's come that's really just straightforward. So when could I actually join the academy? Because obviously a lot of people think that you start your school age 11 or you start your school age 16 in the sixth form. So when can you join the academy?
Well, the UTC actually has an atypical age range entry point, which is unusual for it, and it's not like normal traditional schools, as you've just said, Liz. So this year, because it's the launch of our academy, you can actually join at either year 9 or 10 into Key Stage 4. And both of those pathways will be, as Dr. Pegg alluded to in her presentation, will be available for year 9 or 10 students, but also you can start at year 12. So you can leave your current school as a year 11 student and come to us in the sixth form, or equally, which is a surprise to a lot of people, you can leave your current school at the end of year 8 or 9 to come to us in years 9 and 10.
Somebody's wondering how easy is it to get to the UTC in order to come to the academy? Where is the UTC, and is it easy to get to with public transport or on foot or whatever?
Yes, the UTC is in the heart of Derby. Actually, it's in Pride Park. It's tucked away, unfortunately, from a lot of sight around one of the corners from the train station. So we're 2 minutes from the train station. We're about a 10 to 15 minute walk away from the bus station, and many of our students come either by bus, by train, car, if they're dropped off by parents. Some do walk and some cycle, so there's all manner of ways to get there. But I think we've had students in the past from as far away as Stoke, and our students are one of the things that coming to a UTC gives you as well, not just the academic and technical things we've been talking about tonight, is that independence and confidence of becoming a young person who takes on challenges of the real world of work.
So we've had a very specific very specific question here from one of our viewers. So I think this is probably going to be one for for Faye or Denise, but what qualifications would I need to become a pathologist? And I guess the other thing I'd say is, you know, and is that the kind of career path where you'd come to the UTC, to the academy, to what if you wanted to be a pathologist?
So a pathologist would be a doctor based, so there would be 5-year learning through universities and obviously go through a specific program. Yes, you could join the UTC and gain those fundamental skills during this time before you decide to go on to university. Not a problem. You would need your A-levels and go on that way. It depends on what part of pathology as well. You might want to start within more of a support role potentially, and then see if then you want to leave there and then become an actual pathologist. I don't know if you want to add anything, Denise.
Yeah, just to say that pathologist is a really broad term, and you've got absolutely that option of becoming a doctor and then going into pathology, but there's lots of other bits and pieces in pathology as well. So if we think about the pathology department in a hospital, you could be working as a healthcare scientist and still be working on pathological samples. So there's lots of different careers that would mean that you would end up working in pathology. So if you think that you want to do post-mortems, then that is a doctor first job. But there's lots of other bits and pieces that you can do. But again, I think that's one of the valuable things of something like the UTC, that you'll get to explore those different job roles and get a better understanding of exactly what it is that you want to do, and it gives you that time to think about that and to make sure that you're making the best decision for yourself. It's a big decision to take when you get to that point, and so to have had the opportunity to explore lots of different professions and get that work experience. I always thought I wanted to be a nurse, and then I didn't. So there's lots of good things about coming to the UTC to be able to get those opportunities.
So we have somebody here who would like to become a nurse and was thinking of level 3 health and social care from year 12. What qualification will you gain from the UTC to help a career in nursing? So Claire, Dr. Pegg and Caroline, do you want to answer that?
Yes, so the Cambridge Technical level 3 in health and social care is exactly that qualification the person's asking about. So that would be offered in combination with either applied science or the more traditional A-level subjects, or we would look at doing the diploma in health and social care, again with a combination of A-level subjects in order to make that progression happen.
It's certainly something that we would actively support our students going forward. And having reviewed the technical qualifications that are on offer at level 3, there is a whole raft of combinations that would lead quite adequately, if successful, and prepare suitably a candidate for the nursing profession.
And if I could just come in there, Liz, to say that the qualification is part of it. It's that the rest of the package as well that we're looking for. I've mentioned as well the interview, you being able to be able to articulate the work experience that you've had and what you've gained from that, and how you think you will be able to apply that in your nursing career is really important. And again, I think going to an organisation like the UTC will set you up really well to be able to do that other bit as well as the qualification.
Yeah, I think just one last point on the back of that, some of our previous students have said that one of the main experiences they gain from coming to the UTC, whether they're doing the engineering or the health specialism, is that they get that ability to work with professionals in the field from the start. So they're used to working at that professional level, communicating with professionals, whether it be in school or out of school. which makes that interview stage so much more straightforward, because it's a skill that they've developed as part of their employer immersion throughout their time at the UTC. Because they do it so often, the interview stage becomes more about actually showcasing with greater confidence what they're capable of doing, because they're used to working with people on that level, which is a really valuable skill that the UTC offer as a uniqueness, as it were.
That's great, thank you. So just to say to our viewers and listeners to do keep those questions coming. This is your real opportunity. It's not often you get a panel of people like this from the university and the UTC and the NHS to be able to ask these questions to. So please take your chance and do ask questions. So we've had a question: do you need to take A-levels at the UTC for the health specialism? And I'm kind of hoping that for all these questions that relate to the curriculum at the UTC, if Caroline and Claire could dive in, please, that would be great.
I think we would look at creating a personalised set of qualifications for each individual. So we would have to look at what they wanted to do, where their strengths were, and then we would put together a programme that supports both their prior learning and where they wanted to get to. So it's a case of looking at what they want to do and which qualifications we would give them as a suite of genuinely personalised qualifications moving forward.
What we can do is to make sure that in developing the suite of qualifications for a student is to ensure that there will be adequate UCAS points attached to the qualifications, so that not only is the student getting the personalised learning journey that they need, but also that they are, well within the realms of meeting the university entry requirements.
If I can just add, Liz, as well, obviously with experience from UTCs, the great thing is we are destination-focused organisations, so we do look at personalised programmes for people. So you can do a larger technical qualification or a smaller technical with more A-level, and we look at the profile of where you're moving to, be that to apprenticeship routes or different university routes. So that's the great thing about our post-16 offer. We can really tailor and focus it rather than one size fits all to make sure you're getting a very successful pathway.
So we've had a question, thank you for that, Nick. We've had a question in a sense which and I think we'll probably come back round to this quite a bit. So we have somebody who's wanting to go to university, is looking at medicine, I think, or certainly health options at university, and really wants to understand why coming to the academy would be better for him or her than their current more general secondary school.
Can I pick this one up, Liz, please?
Yeah, go on.
I mean, I think if you want to go into medicine, it's very competitive and you need good quality A-level pass rates to get in, and there's no disputing that. However, I think from our point of view, it's what goes on extra than that, because when people apply into medical school, they have those qualifications. And it's what have you got to offer in a competitive area like medicine, which makes you stand out above and beyond what other people have when they're applying. And if you've been at a UTC which specialises in the healthcare sector, and you've been exposed to the NHS and you've been exposed to our education throughout your time with us, that gives you that edge. And when you're writing a UCAS application to join a medical school, you'll be able to draw on a wealth of experience that will make you stand apart from other candidates.
Yes, I think it would probably be good if we could just maybe have a little input from Denise there from a university perspective.
Certainly, like I was saying around the nursing, I mean, we don't offer medicine at Derby, and that's it is a different process, and they are looking for different things. But I think the ability to almost have a run up at it is how I would describe it. That you're not coming out of a school saying that I know I want to do medicine and I'm going to go forwards. You've got here an opportunity of people that have got some of that experience under their belt already and will be able to support you through that perhaps a little bit more carefully. When in health and social care, as I've said, it is that the roundedness of the person as well as those qualifications, and so having a run up at it and having some opportunity to hone those skills is really important, and absolutely I can see that the UTC will be able to support you with that.
Just to add, Liz, again, from a trust point of view, clearly those students that we do see who are clearly just focusing on that route to medicine, we do work with medical school at the University of Sheffield, so we can give support and insight across that link with the trust as well that we'll bring in to complement what's offered in Derby for those students who study that route. So again, that's something we can offer you won't get in a traditional school setting.
Great. We have somebody who's asked about SEN provision available at the UTC for those who have particular requirements.
Very strong SEN at the UTC. It's a small team, very dedicated to supporting the learners within the UTC, and we've had some in previous years, both at Key Stage 4 and at Key Stage 5, we've had some real successes with students with specific needs and supporting them in reaching their goals, and they've gone on to tremendous destinations, whether that be within employer or within higher education establishments as well. So yes, is the answer.
We've had a question about whether we plan an open day next year, but I kind of think that brings in the whole issue about the basic issue about will the school be opening, because there's so much worry at the moment about will schools open, and so will I be able to have my course, you know, will I be able to join? So I guess we probably should cover that off really and explain what will happen.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a really fortunate position because the launch of the UTC, we always were aiming to do it with small numbers and then build. So actually, that's the current position we're in means that we're open as we stand today, with the caveat that all government guidance may change if there's a second spike, etc. But in the position we are today, we can fully open to all year groups that apply to come to the UTC in September. And actually yesterday, Nick and I and other principals of the UTC had a planning meeting regarding the so-called mega bubbles and opening up the UTC to the students. So we can do that. We're confident we can do that. The building at the moment is COVID secure with the famous black and yellow tape everywhere, and one-way systems in place, etc. And we've been discussing lunchtime arrangements. So it's all in hand, as I say, at the moment, providing nothing else happens. With regards to an open event, depending on, again, government guidance, that could be seen as a mass public event where social distancing may become an issue. So yes, we definitely intend to run open events, but we may well have to limit the number of students and parents we can let into an event at each time, so we can comply with the social distancing rules at that time. But if that's the case, then we'll just put on multiple events and maybe more Zoom events like this as well.
We've had a question to ask how many students would we be expecting to take in year 12 for the health pathway? I imagine the question is, you know, is there going to definitely be room for applications?
Most definitely, yes.
Great. And just one of the questions that I know is often at the back of attendees' minds about, so do students at the UTC wear uniform?
Yes, in years 9 and 10, it's a smart, grey business suit, non-branded, so that when they go for interviews and things like that, they can wear the school uniform, and it's as a suit. But we do have a branded tie with the UTC's logo on, which is called the Intelligent Hand, and it's a five-fingered blue hand, which is on the side of the building that you might have seen earlier. And then post-16, we ask them to wear business dress. So not a specific suit, but business dress, which is appropriate for the world of work.
And Obviously we've talked lots about the curriculum and the courses and the career and the progression, which is critical. But I guess we all know that young people want to come to school, students come to school for more than just the core studies. So is it possible to have fun at a UTC as well? Will it be fun and friendly to actually go there and do this, to join the Health Academy and take the healthcare pathway at the UTC?
Well, I'm bound to say yes. So maybe I should let Claire and Caroline take that one on the fun aspect.
Definitely, there is no sitting still in my classroom, and I will be delivering a large portion of the health and social care pathways. I have an ethos of that if I am bored delivering something, then a student is going to be bored in their attempts to learn it. So therefore it's hands-on, experiential learning, lots of discussions and debates in order to embed the theoretical knowledge that you will need in order to pass external and internal assessments.
And are there things like, I mean, I presumably there's enrichment activity and there are clubs. Does anybody play football or chess? You know, what kind of things go on outside of lessons?
Chess is easy in a UTC. Football's a bit more difficult because we are in the middle of Pride Park. There is rather a famous football pitch, but unfortunately we don't have access to that. So unfortunately we have had football teams in the past, but they've tended to just play friendly games with other schools. But there are lots of enrichment activities. Last year we did CANSAT. Claire, do you want to describe CANSAT since since you were involved in that?
Yeah, CANSAT's basically where you make a satellite device that must fit inside a tin can and then launch it. That's really what it comes down to, which was a combination of science and engineering skills for our students. And they actually got through to the national finals, although unfortunately it was postponed as a result of COVID. But it was a really unique opportunity for our students to work on something that they weren't going to be tested on. There was no exam. It was purely for the enjoyment of actually doing a project based on science and engineering, which is obviously, you know, one of the reasons why they come to the UTC.
Many of our enrichment events have been centred around engineering because that was our original specialism when we've got events with Formula One in
We've
school.
also done art enrichments, we've done board games, we have a reading club. And for those people that want to do something a little more mindful in their enrichment time, you know, we've got first aid is one of the enrichments for next year, which hopefully will be able to be delivered in combination with a group of theatre art students who are going to come and do some makeup for us, so they can actually give us some proper wounds to work on. But also in terms of the opportunities for the students, we are very lucky, relatively speaking, in the fact that, you know, the students have a small tutor group system. So you get to know your tutees as a tutor and indeed your tutor extremely well, which means they're there to support you every single step of the way. So you might travel a little bit further than if you were going to your local secondary school, but the support that you get and the camaraderie from the students that you work with is born of the fact that you are making a positive choice to come from your current school into the UTC because you want to take a big step in organising your own career, your own learning from this point forward. You're taking it in your own hands to do something, and that's why we get a lot of like-minded students that work incredibly well together.
I mean, just to add as well that while the UTC is smaller at the moment, it has strong links. We run ski trips from the UTCs in Sheffield. There's no reason why we can't take groups to collaborate to take that forward when we get past COVID restrictions as we move on. And that's clearly working with the student body. The student voice will build on opportunities for students to take up opportunities outside of the specialist learning as they move forward. Clearly we've got very good links with the universities and others as well that will explore how we collaborate in those areas for you as well.
Thank you, Nick. So I'm mindful of the time. We are within 1 minute of our closing time. We've had some great questions there. We've had a question about when can you apply and how can you apply, and I think Mr. Wheatcroft is probably going to want to close by just explaining what the next step might be. So I'd just like to thank all of our panelists for contributing this evening. It's been great to hear about the opportunities in the NHS and the university, and really good to hear about the opportunities at the UTC. I'd really like to thank all of our audience. Thank you very much for making the time to join us this evening, for staying with us, and for all of your questions. We really do appreciate it. So I'm just going to hand over now to Mr. Wheatcroft to just close proceedings and explain what happens next in effect.
Yes, thanks Liz for that, and I'd like to thank everybody too, because both the panelists and the audience, some fantastic questions, really probing and well thought out questions, so thank you for all those. If you're interested in applying to us, please visit our website, which is www.utcderby.org.uk, with its details for applying into year 9, 10 and 12. If you're interested in applying next year, then we'll be starting a whole raft of recruitment events in September, and you'll be able to apply to us from September onwards, and details will be on the website for that as well. If you want to come round and have a look at the UTC, we are doing that at the moment. If you're interested in September start, if you contact the school at admin@utcderby.org.uk, we will be in contact, and you can meet with either myself or one of the team, and we can take you around the UTC, obviously with the proviso of social distancing, so you can see the facilities we have on offer, and we can discuss in more detail any specific questions that people may have if they wish to join us in September.
Thank you. So at this point we'll close, and the screen will disappear, but thank you to everybody, and we look forward to hearing from you, and also we'll be in touch with our attendees. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.